Hello, all you zany drywallers out there in drywall world, and welcome to a quiet episode of the Drywall Podcast. I am your host, once again, Nick Harmon. With us today, we have Scott Russell of Russell's Drywall out of Bear Lake, Michigan. Scott has been in the trades for over 37 years and brings a wealth of knowledge to this show. We do a deep dive into his involvement as a Jehovah's Witness and how that involvement in the Kingdom Hall led him to a path in drywall. I might show off my ignorance a little bit when Scott brings up the whole wide board conversation. Wide board?
Yeah, 4.5 foot wide.
I've never heard of that.
Seriously? It's been around 30, 40 years.
So you don't have a belly band.
Right. Or like
I've heard of like 14 foot, but I feel like they're all 4 feet. But you're saying like there's a 4.5 foot?
There is, yeah. And you can get it half or 5/8.
Weird.
Like my FBM up here gets 5/8 in 12s, but half inch they do go 16s, 14s in the wide board.
And if you're listening, don't be a jerk. I'm sure there's stuff still within the drywall industry that you haven't heard of. I just have not heard of that. It makes sense if you're hanging 9 foot and you don't want a belly band. But right. So you would have, I feel like they just do the belly band or you do one up top, a high and low, a band.
I see a lot of the wide board on other people's jobs and on Instagram. You do? Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you still see it around. It's still around. Yeah. That would be a fun question for Instagram. Hey, we talked with Scott Russell on the Drywall Podcast. I didn't know about wide board. What's your guys' experience? Have you ever used it? Like that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Do you use it today?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I got a house right now. It's all 9 foot, and so we got tons of wide board in there.
Okay. All right.
And sometimes when I'm mapping out ceilings, I use wide board on the ceiling.
Okay.
So to save a joint here or there, but
yeah.
'Cause that's my theory. The less joints, the better.
Scott is a totally awesome dude, and I really enjoyed this one. We talk a little bit about the banjo and learning the bazooka, but how he also donated a lot of work to his religion and the merits of donating work. Scott's career has slowed since he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and we talk a little bit about that as well. Hold on to your hats. There's a new sponsor in town, and their name happens to be Tape Tech. That's right. You heard me correctly. Don't adjust your dial. Tape Tech Tools is sponsoring the Drywall Podcast in the month of May, and we appreciate them for that. This month, Tape Tech is highlighting their newest member of the tool family and a much needed member. Meet the T-Rax system. That's T-RAXX, and it's the first and only tool rack system made specifically for ATF tools. T-Rax is exclusive to Tape Tech and available through Ames, Allwall, and West Tech. The rack system is just $149.99, and when paired with the Stack Pack boxes, you have the most customizable pro-grade storage solution on the market. This system may just transform how you transport and use your tools, no matter if you're using Tape Tech, Level 5, Columbia, Drywall Master, or Ames. It's all compatible. Go check them out. And also, thank you to Tape Tech for sponsoring the Drywall Podcast. You guys are awesome. But for now, Scott Russell with Russell's Drywall out of Bear Lake, Michigan on the 133rd episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. Scott Russell.
Yes, in the flesh.
Russell's Drywall. I didn't know if we'd wrangle you. You were the most non-communicative.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. You just like, you were like, yeah, I'm gonna be there. I'm like, hey, are you sure you're gonna be there? You're like, yes, I'm gonna be there. And here you are. What shirt are you wearing there? Drywall Whisperer. Ooh, I like that.
My
Hello.
daughter found that somewhere, so I just
It's really cool. Hello and welcome to a quiet episode of the Drywall Podcast. How are you doing today?
okay. Good days and bad days.
And you've been in drywall for a while, yeah?
Yeah, about 37 years.
Not long. You're almost a journeyman.
Yeah, one day I'll figure it out.
At 40, I think you journey 40 years in the trade, you journey out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you stop
Well,
learning.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Yeah. How old are you, Scott, if you don't mind?
57.
Okay, 57 years young. And we have Scott Russell. Are you in Bear Lake, Michigan?
Correct. Yep.
Scott Russell out of Bear Lake, Michigan, with Russell's Drywall on the Drywall Podcast today. You've done. How do we know each other, Scott? I mean, you sort of come up in my radar, but you sent me some stickers. That was cool.
Yeah.
We put the stickers on the fridge. You've done a little bit of fresco, yeah?
No, you sent me a sample pack, and I haven't figured out where I want to put that yet.
That's okay. That's okay. No shame. That a lot of drywallers do that. They get the sample pack and then they sit there and they look at it for a long time and build up the courage and then do a
Yep.
wall, you know.
I wasn't sure how far that would go.
About 150 square feet. What kind of texture do you have over there?
Well, the walls are all smooth. I got a lot of
Yeah.
different textures in my house here, but
Yeah.
um, like I got a stomp texture on the ceiling behind me.
Okay. So it'll go a little less square footage on like a stomp texture than like on an orange peel or a
Right.
smooth finish, you know.
I was trying to think of it like an accent wall or something, but
Yeah. And if you're listening, we do have guests where I've never met the person before. We've communicated like just barely online a little bit, but this is the first time Scott and I have talked face to face, at least on the computer. You're seeing it
great.
real time. This is how the Drywall Podcast unfolds sometimes. And everybody's different. You know, some people come, you know, we talk a lot before the show. Some people we don't talk very much. And so there's no wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I think we tried this about a year ago and it just didn't work out for different reasons, but
I think so. I think you're right. Like, yeah, oh yeah. And then people will like be a real struggle to get on the show, and then some people will come right on the show, and it's easier and softer. But yeah, I think we tried to do it. Now, let me ask you this: are you nervous about coming on the Drywall Podcast, telling your story?
a little, I don't
A
know.
little, yeah, yeah. It's kind of
I've, I've, I've got some, experience in public speaking, but it's always a nervous thing.
what do you mean you have experience in public
Well,
speaking?
just with religion, I speak a lot there, but
Okay, what religion are you?
we're Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness. Okay, so now when you gather at like a Jehovah's Witness church, do you, or is it considered a church?
Yeah, we call it a Kingdom Hall. Church is really
Okay,
means congregation, but
okay,
uh, we call it a Kingdom Hall.
okay.
But
Kingdom
yeah,
Hall.
so we all have different assignments of talking on different subjects.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting. And then, what would you say is the largest audience that you've spoke in front of?
Oh, about 1,000 one time down in Lansing.
That's quite a bit. That's quite an audience.
That was an unusual situation, but usually about 100 or so.
My only association with Jehovah's Witness is that, well, there's two things. One, No, like, stop me if I'm wrong. Birthday parties, Christmas.
No,
You don't celebrate Christmas birthday
no,
parties?
nope.
Why not the birthday party?
It's hard. It's kind of hard to explain. It's not.
Fair enough.
It's kind of vain a little bit on one hand, and you never
Okay.
hear about any birthday parties in the Bible. And it's not something you control. Usually, a
Okay.
person makes a name for themselves through their lifetime, and the time of their birth is just a random day.
I like it. I kind of, I'm a big, because even sometimes in the people will celebrate birthday parties, but they're vague about. People are generally vague about their own birthday party. They always want to celebrate other people, but they have a hard time celebrating themselves.
Right.
Me, I sort of go in the other direction. I always want to have my friends around. It's a good opportunity to connect with people, and that's just the way I look at it. It's a birthday party, like why not? Let's do. This year I rented a soccer field and I played soccer with some of the people that I always play soccer with, and that was a lot of fun. And then we had like we just did a barbecue afterwards. It was pretty chill.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah,
We get
yeah.
together, for other reasons, but so we don't miss out on stuff. But
What would be a get together that you celebrate that maybe other people that aren't affiliated with Jehovah's Witness don't?
so Jehovah's Witnesses celebrate the memorial of Jesus' death. On
Okay,
the
what's
Passover
that?
night, on the Passover night, he had the Lord's evening meal with his apostles, disciples.
Okay, okay,
And at the end of that, he said to keep doing this in remembrance of me. So we do that once a year. Just observe his death, his
okay,
sacrifice of his life.
okay.
And most people celebrate Easter, which highlights the resurrection, but his actual death is pretty important to us.
Right. You call it a crucifixion, or correct? He was crucified.
Yeah, he was put on the stake,
Right. Okay. All right.
sacrificed his life for all mankind.
Right. That's pretty standard, right?
Right. So that act of doing that, you think about what went into that. That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
You know, like Easter doesn't always fall on the actual day of the resurrection, so it's a little ambiguous. But
Sure.
um, but the actual sacrifice is pretty important.
Right. Right. That what that symbolizes.
Right.
Yeah.
What that means for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. What does it mean for you specifically?
Well, the chance of restoring God's original purpose to have us live on a peaceful earth. And a lot of people think of reward as a heaven, but God put Adam and Eve on the earth. He intended for them to live forever. So he still has that purpose. Those that go to heaven have a specific role in mind, but for the majority of people, it's to live on earth and restored earth.
I like it. I like it. I'm a believer in like, yeah, it's you are create your heaven and hell here on earth. Like you live a good life, you put out good stuff, you have a good life. Life can be pretty easy. Live a bad life, you make poor decisions, you can have hell right here. It's
Yep.
really a choice, and of course, all we have is the present moment. So this is it, man. You and I are
Right.
sharing it right now, Scott. This is happening.
Yep.
We can't talk about religion the whole time though, because people
That's
will
fine.
like tune out. I can't imagine how many people have already like shut it off.
Yeah, you might have to edit that down a little bit.
Screw them. Stick around, man. Scott's got more to tell about drywall. So where are we going to go? I am fascinated though about why does everybody in the Jehovah's Witness speak in front of people?
Most do. And
Most do.
a lot of it's training for speaking out in the field, out in people's homes and stuff. But
Right. That was the other part. The other part that that my limited knowledge of is that you go around, you go from house to house, you do like these pilgrimages where you try to enroll people into your religion. That's part of your. Would do you
And it,
now? Do you call it a religion too? Because I don't want
yes,
to. Okay.
yes. Yeah, in a nutshell, that's it. Jesus said to go make disciples. So
Okay.
his last words in Matthew. So that's what we try to do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, those are the references that I have. A little bit of clarity around that. I appreciate it. It's good to know where people come from and what they are when I give an interview, because then I'll approach the interview from a certain angle. We want to tell the story of Scott Russell. Jesus' story's been told. We want to learn about Scott Russell.
Okay.
And this drywall journey that he's been on. How did you, are you first or second generation drywaller?
First generation.
First generation, which makes me excited because I'm first generation. And there's something special about first generation drywallers where we're sort of like the trade picks us. We're not sort of grandfathered into it by our dad or uncle or something weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my dad was a little disappointed. He had a TV shop growing up, and he was kind of hoping I'd pick it up take over after a while. But
Shut up. Your dad had a TV show?
yeah, shop,
Shop.
TV shop. He sold
Oh,
and
a
repaired TV
shop.
shop.
Oh, I was about to get excited. I was like, Scott Russell's dad is famous. It's like, yeah, my dad's Mr. Rogers. He had this TV
Yeah,
show. Maybe you've heard of it.
right,
And another fun fact, Mr. Rogers was a Jehovah's Witness. Who
right.
knew?
No, he wasn't. No, that's it.
Little known fact. He had a TV shop where he, I assume, worked on and repaired television sets.
Yeah, and so it was part of our house, and then he put it out to the garage. But he fixed and sold new TVs. He put up antenna towers, and then we got into satellite dishes later in my teen years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I used to help him, put up towers and satellite dishes and run wire. He would always say, "Well, one of us needs to go to the crawl space to feed the wire, while I stand up here to catch it."
That was, yep.
In other words, I had to go in the crawl space.
You had to go in the crawl space.
But I like the bigger things. The staring in the back of a TV just wasn't my thing.
What do you mean bigger things?
Well, I like building the towers and the satellite dishes and somewhat the trenches, not so much, but
Yeah. And if you're listening, there wasn't this magical thing called the internet back in the day. You, you had to beam you had to beam signals out into space into a satellite, which would then return a signal back down to your television. These were called dishes. I remember the first dishes. We had one of those giant ass dishes,
right.
that were so cool, and all my friends were like, they got a dish, and I don't know how my parents afforded it or whatever. We weren't huge TV watchers, but we did have a dish, and we got to watch like some of the first like MTV and like that sort of thing. It wasn't cable; it was a
Right.
dish, and then everybody had an antenna, and
Right.
none of the TVs really worked. You had like a couple channels,
Yeah, that was the early cable because there was no cable, and so we
right?
had HBO and MTV and all
Yep.
the sports, and
Mm-hmm.
so and it was just coming out. He actually had one on a trailer, and he would let people loan it over the weekend and get it, and then they would kind of sell it that way.
Oh,
They'd see for themselves what it was like, and
he'd let them test drive it. That's smart.
yeah,
Yeah, they'd like watch one movie on HBO and they're like, dude, just go mortgage the house. We're
yeah,
gonna buy a dish. We're gonna buy a dish. That's funny.
yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so you worked with your dad doing TV stuff, but that didn't satisfy something inside of you. You're like, this isn't really my cup of tea. Did you go to college after high school?
No, college didn't appeal to me.
Okay.
I had seen where it was a lot of waste of time. In some cases, people weren't able to use the degrees they were getting. But my uncle down in Tennessee offered to have me work for him down around Nashville building pools.
Okay, so you were maybe getting a little bit of hawk and trowel experience building pools, yeah?
Yeah, they're in-ground pools and steel wall panels, and we drop a liner and do the concrete deck. But that didn't last long. That flamed out pretty fast. But so I was looking around, and this drywall guy says, "Hey, come work for me." So I'm like, "All right." And then he taught me everything. And
Wait, what do you mean you were looking around and some drywall
well,
guy jumped out of the bushes? Come on. There
from
we got
it was a friend from the Kingdom Hall, and
Okay.
he knew of my situation. He says, "Hey, I need some help. Come work for me." So from there, he taught me. We hung and finished, and he taught me the tools. He would rent Ames tools.
Okay. What how old were you?
I was about 19.
Okay.
It
So
was around early
19. Yeah, what year are we talking?
early '87.
Pretty good. I was 11. You got me by a few years, buddy.
Happens.
Um, yeah, it happens. Yeah, age. Like where the 40s are almost gone for me. And then I'm lucky that I'm still in them. Somebody's like 35 thinks 40's old. It's like just wait, buddy. Wait
Well,
till the
wait to get
50s.
yeah, wait till the '50s.
Yeah, 50s will pass you by, then all of a sudden you're 60. I know people in their 60s and 70s. Yeah, life is an interesting thing, the march of time, for
Right.
sure. So you go to work with what was his name?
Jeff Jupner.
Yeah, what was
And
the name of his company?
I don't know if he even had a name for his company. He just I don't remember any name,
You don't
honestly.
remember Jeff? How do you spell his last name?
Juptner.
Jupiter. Well, almost like
Yes.
Jupiter. Almost like Jupiter. Could have been Jupiter drywall with like a like Jupiter, like a
Yeah.
Jupiter. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think naming was as big of a deal back then as it is today, and having a
Right.
logo and everything. And
You gotta have a logo. You have a drywall podcast sticker, don't you?
yeah, I do. The
Nice.
the, the cassette tape one, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're a TV guy. Hey, you
Right.
know what? I have another logo. What the hell? Oh, this one right here.
Oh yeah,
This
that I haven't.
that's all VHS.
Yeah, we used to have. You know, there was a battle in the beginning between VHS
See?
and
And
Beta.
it says the drywall podcast on
Oh
there.
yeah,
Like you'd make like home videos and then you'd like write on that was my idea. But then
right.
more people like the cassette than but I like this one too. I think that'd be cool on a shirt.
Yeah, there was a kind of battle at first. There was the VHS, and then there was Beta, which was a little bit smaller. Not a whole lot smaller, but VHS won that.
Come on, Scott. I wouldn't call that a battle. That was like maybe maybe that was like a little scuffle, but like
Right.
Beta didn't have a chance.
No.
What was the deal with betas? Did you guys work on those betas back then?
Yeah, he sold the Sony Beta and then the Zenith VHS, and
Okay.
somehow VHS won out. I'm not sure what happened, but
All right, and for our younger audience, let's clue them in on what we're talking about here because they have no clue about beta versus VHS. So just explain the difference and what it is.
they were just large cassette tapes. Beta was a little smaller, a little bit more compact.
Okay.
VHS was a little bit bigger. Maybe I don't know if it held more space on it or what, but it just became the industry norm, and Beta lost out. But Sony, that was a,
Would Beta go and try to make a different cassette tape though? That just seems kind of like Apple. Like Apple makes stuff that only their people can use. Were they trying to do that angle, do you think?
I'm not exactly sure why they did that. It seems like they came out about the same time, but they would have known about each other somehow.
Right, right. Foolish. In retrospect, it was foolish. They should have just come out with their own brand of VHS.
Yeah, I think Sony was in on that on the Beta, but they wound up with the Walkman and all that, and so they did all right.
Yeah, remember the little cassettes? They had the little.
Right.
And then there were like little VHS cassettes too that went in the
Right,
camcorders. Like those were a pain in the ass.
right.
Yeah. VHS, what does that stand for? For $1 million. Yeah,
Video home system.
video home system.
Final answer.
I wonder if we could do it. I wonder if we could do it without. If I ask Siri something on here, it'll switch my headphones. We could. Oh, you know what I could do is turn off Bluetooth. Go. Here we go. Hey Siri, what does VHS stand for?
VHS is a trademark term. It means video home system, denoting the video system, and tape used by domestic video recorders and some camcorders.
You were
There you
right,
go.
sir. You get the $1 million. Don't expect it all in one lump sum, though.
Wow, man.
It's going to take me a while to wrestle that much. Very cool. Okay, so we got off track, but you were doing drywall with Jupner,
Right.
Jeff Jupner in 87. He brings you on. He's doing hang finish. Is there other people that he's working with at that time?
He had one other guy helping him. James Law was helping him. So the three of us hung and finished houses. It was kind of a weird dynamic. It was like $5 a board. The builder would get
Okay.
all 12s.
Okay.
And we later talked him into wide boards for 9-foot ceilings, but so it was butt joint city, all 12s.
Wide board?
Yeah, 4.5 foot wide.
I've
For-
never heard of that.
Seriously? It's been around 30, 40 years.
So you don't have a belly band.
Right. Or like
I've
we would
heard of
go-
I've heard of like 14 foot, but I feel like they're all 4 feet. But you're saying like
Yeah.
there's a 4.5 foot?
There is, yeah. And
I don't
you can
know
get
what-
it half or 5/8. Like
Weird.
my FBM up here gets 5/8 in 12s, but half inch they do go 16s, 14s in the wide board.
And if you're listening, don't be a jerk. I'm sure there's stuff still within the drywall industry that you haven't heard of. I just have not heard of that. It makes sense if you're hanging 9 foot and you don't want a belly band. But
Right.
so you would have, I feel like they just do the belly band or you do one up top, a high and low, a band.
I see a lot of the wide board on other people's jobs and on Instagram.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you still see it around. It's still around. That
Oh,
would be
yeah.
that would be a fun question for Instagram. Hey, we talked with Scott Russell on the Drywall podcast. I didn't know about Wideboard. What's your guys' experience? Have you ever used it? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you use it today?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I got a house right now. It's all 9 foot, and so we had tons of wide board in there.
Okay. All right.
And
That's cool.
sometimes when I'm mapping out ceilings, I use wide board on the ceiling. So
Okay.
it's to save a joint here or there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's my theory. The less joints, the better.
Well, I think that's every drywaller. If you're a good drywaller, that's the theory, and also shear strength as well, right? So add
Yeah.
shear strength to the wall
A little bit. Yeah.
a little bit, probably more than people think about. Drywall adding shear strength to a wall, they don't consider how much strength you're adding to the wall when you shear up those
Right.
those studs. My boss
Yeah.
in Crested Butte was big on that, not just for cracking, but like where you cut your headers and stuff, like for shear strength.
Right. I know Drywall Shorties talked about having to screw off like every few inches for shear strength, but it seems like that would just weaken the drywall to do that many screws
On the edges
in the field.
in the field too.
Yeah, you see her spotting screws, and it's like machine gun. Like somebody went through with a machine gun.
Hey man, do not question Drywall Shorty.
Well, I know she's doing what's code out there, but I'm sure she would love less screws.
Did you listen to the most recent Drywall Shorty?
Yes, I did. I heard that. That was good.
It was a good one. Yeah, yeah. I sure love her. And you listen to the Drywall podcast pretty regular?
Yeah, more lately. I've listened to most of them, or at least half of them,
Thank you.
most of them lately.
Okay. What do you think? Give me honest feedback. Is it getting better? Is it worse? You can't stand the sound of my voice. What do you got?
No, it's all good. I liked all the different perspectives, and even like Lydia or the Saint Aaron and them and Elliot,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting down to the grassroots of what's going on. It's always fun to hear.
Yes, yeah, and and having the industry experts and yeah, the different perspectives, but cussing. Now, you probably don't seem like a big cussing guy to me.
No, I don't cuss a whole lot, hardly at
Okay,
all.
yeah, and so like if there's an episode where I cuss a lot, does that turn you off?
I cringe a little, but I
Okay,
understand what's going on.
okay, good. I'll take it and leave it. If I'm talking with my friends, I talk like a trucker, you know. It just depends. But like I could shut it off. I could shut it off like a spigot, if I'm in front of my mom
Right.
maybe or whatever, If I cuss in front of her, she knows I'm really upset. But if I have a interviewee who does not like to cuss, then I'll try to be respectful of that for sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Uh, Okay, so you guys are drywall finishing. Were they nice to you or were they mean?
They were fun. We had a good
They were
time.
fun.
I
Good.
mean, they razzed me some, but
Good.
especially I got married like right after that, and they were razzing me about that. But it's all in
Yeah.
good fun.
Nice. And you got married so then around between 87 and 89?
89, 88.
80, 88.
I'm in trouble
And
now.
you're still with her today, correct?
Yep,
Yes. I guessed it.
30. What is that? 37 years.
That's
That's coming
amazing.
up next week.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it just reminded me.
Can we give a shout out? What's her name?
Oh, Kim.
Kim. Shout out to Kim for putting up with Scott for 37 years. Excellent. Okay, so these guys are razzing you. You are, for all intents and purposes, an apprentice,
Right.
and these guys are showing you the ropes. Do you jump right in using the tools?
First, he had me like hand finishing closets. Then he gave
Oh,
me the
you
bazooka.
said, yeah, they were using Ames. They were
Right,
probably renting at the time, right?
right. Yeah, they were. I
Okay.
think.
But they didn't let you touch the tools.
Well, first he wanted me to understand how to hand finish, and then it wasn't long before
Smart.
he handed me a bazooka and sent me into the closet to learn
Yeah.
to run a bazooka in tight spaces.
Yeah, they used to do that back in the day. They were jerks. They were like, "Oh, I'm going to give you the hardest spot
Right, because
to
they
like
didn't want
learn
to.
this." That's not intuitive though. I would be like, just go run this easy room out, and
Right,
learn how to run the damn thing. And then
right.
like I'll show you the tricks to a closet. Do you feel like that was a good approach for you to learn how?
No, because like you say, it's
No,
easier to stand out where you can,
totally.
get a good 45 angle on it and run an open room. And
I agree. So if you're listening, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to change it up for all you drywall listeners out there. If you're training somebody, don't put them in a hard ass space to figure out the bazooka. That's ridiculous. Give them an easy
right,
wall to figure out the tool and then put them in the hard space and show them how to do the hard space because there's tricks to running inside angles in a closet,
right.
especially if you're running a bazooka. I got sent up into the mechanical space with the banjo and I got mud all over me. No, they sent me up in on scaffold, commercial,
Right.
into the ceiling and I was like little tabs of tape around like pipes and like
Top
trying to
outs.
run
Top
like
outs.
fire taping. And
Yeah.
I remember taking that bazooka like this and throwing it off of the scaffold. I was so mad. I threw
Yeah,
it
it's
off
kind
the
of
scaffold and it hit a bucket and like leaned up and it was fine, luckily. But
yeah, it's kind of pointless up in those spots, but
no, banjo's better. in tight areas, I think, even nowadays. Did you ever run the banjo?
I've never run a banjo. Seems easy, but I've just never. I was
Piece of
always
cake.
taught with bazooka, and I just always went with that.
Yeah, they're silly. The crew that I worked with in Colorado just ran the banjo. They would have like two banjos going.
Hmm.
I was like, get a bazooka, you guys. Get a bazooka already. People do stuff differently when you move around, you know?
Right?
Yeah. You got a friend that runs a banjo?
Yeah, and he's downstate. Him and his son, and they do a lot of banjo work, and they knock it
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah. Yeah, people
uh,
can be pretty fast with the banjo, but not Scott. He learned on a bazooka, and
right.
he runs a bazooka, tried and true. Okay, so there's not much leeway there. How long were you with Jupiter, uh, Jeff? This Jeff character, probably a while,
Um,
huh? He's from the Kingdom
actually,
Hall. He had you roped in. Was he paying you well?
he paid me okay for the time. I forget exactly what it was, but it was okay for the time.
All right.
But that lasted 3 or 4 years, and then there was like a recession of sorts.
Okay.
So he moved to down to Atlanta, and so I was kind of left alone. Um,
Yeah.
so I went to work with my other uncle.
But you had your chops by that time.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good. I had a few jobs of my own, but
Okay.
um, I had some slow time, so I started working with my other uncle, who was more established building pools. And I worked with him till kept getting phone calls to do
You went to
drywall.
you went back to pools.
Yeah, because I was steady, and he let me work with him. Because I was getting jobs of my own after Jeff left, but not enough to keep
But not
going.
enough. And you were still pretty green.
Early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s. You got Kim. Kim's at home. Any
Yeah,
kiddos yet?
not for a while. No, not right away.
Okay, not right away. So, but still, you got this new wife. She's like, you got to bring home the bacon, and there wasn't enough drywall jobs, so you go back and get another job doing the pools with the uncle, but you keep getting drywall phone calls.
Right.
Okay.
Finally, I got one to do a big house in a rich part of Nashville from a guy that knew me. Um, so that kind of kickstarted me on my own. And I also wound up doing some travel volunteer projects. So that kind of paid for those trips, that big house.
What do you mean volunteer projects?
So we have Jehovah's Witnesses have branch offices around the world, and we
Okay.
went to work on a few of them.
You're getting paid for that work, aren't you?
No, it was all volunteer. They took care of
Oh,
us while we were there.
volunteer. I'm gonna have to cut that out because I sound like an idiot. Like, are you listening, dude? I just said it was volunteer. Oh boy, whatever.
Yeah, we get
Okay. So you do a certain amount of volunteer, but you don't get paid. How do you travel and do the volunteer work? This is sort of feeds your soul,
right.
um, that sort of thing. And you're doing something good. You're creating other kingdom hall. Do they call them kingdom halls or
Yeah.
no?
Well, yeah, but we were doing like branch offices. We
Okay.
big huge buildings in different countries.
And that's cool because you're getting to work around other Jehovah's Witnesses and you're meeting new people with the
Yeah,
same faith, and that's kind of cool.
that's always a good thing. That was a
Yeah.
lot. We had a lot of fun and made some lasting friendships.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. Okay. So you went and did pilgrimage, volunteer work, came and then you came back to and you're still in
Right.
Michigan at this point, yeah? Or
No,
no?
that was around Nashville. We were
Nashville.
living
Did you come up in Nashville?
after high school. I moved to Nashville to start with the pools. Went to
Okay.
drywall, and we were there for about 9 years, and we came back to Michigan.
Because you're in Bear Lake now. Okay, so Michigan down to Nashville, back to Michigan.
Right.
Okay. All right. You, sorry, After the volunteer work, you went back to Nashville to continue doing drywall. So now you've got like even more chops. You're like, I think I can eke out a
Right.
living doing drywall.
Right. And I was getting more and more calls, and my name got put out there, and so
Okay.
it was steady work then for quite a while.
And you're
But
just you're by yourself. You're Scott Russell drywall.
yeah, just Russell's. I think I started Russell's Drywall back then down there, but
Okay.
um,
Okay.
just
What year
I
was
didn't.
that in the timeline?
That was still the early '90s. We
Okay.
would travel to one project, come home for a year, travel to another project, come home for a year, and we did three of those. So
Okay.
I would make enough money to pay for those, and then while we were gone, we didn't have any much expenses to take care of here, so that kind of worked out.
What do you get for the volunteer work besides good karma?
Just the joy of helping, and there's a lot of
Okay.
friendships, and knowing
Okay.
that I'm doing a good thing, and
I've always found it's kind of nice to do that type of work because I've done a lot of it too, where you're just helping a friend out, or you're like, I'm not going to charge for this one. I'm going to do an accent wall or do a living room for
mhm.
your, your girlfriend's parents or something, where you can't really charge. There's an element of, well, first of all, they can't bitch because you're doing it for free. That's nice.
Right,
Secondly, yeah, you're just sort of doing something good, and there's no time rush, and it's like you get all those good feelers from doing something, something
right.
cool, outward focus for somebody else. That's where you're expecting nothing in return.
Yeah, and it takes me, very little time. Where if they did it themselves, it would take them forever.
Right, right. You've got the skill sets, and then I'm sure it comes back to you in other ways.
Yeah,
People don't realize that aspect of giving, that everything you put out into the universe comes back to you in like form. I
yeah, it
believe that.
does.
Yeah. Um, Very cool. So, Russell's Drywall is born there somewhere around the early '90s. You're still married to Kim, though. As much of as much of a philanthropist as you are, you've got Kim at home. You got to pay the bills. Russell Drywall is born. Are you still using the Ames tools at that point?
I did. I used the Ames because then I would turn them back in when I went on my trips. But because if something were to happen, I could take them back and get a new one, and pretty
Right.
easy. I didn't have to spend time maintaining it, but it was a little bit of a drive down to the Ames store. But when we moved back up here, there's no Ames nearby, so I bought a set.
Okay. What'd you buy?
Tape Master.
This is
That's
where
what
you're
it is.
gonna upset. This is where you're gonna upset people right here, right here. Especially our sponsors for the month of May, which it happens to be Ames and Tape Tech.
Right, right.
Well, I've heard good things about Tape Tech, although I don't think I've used them myself. But you went with Drywall Master too, which I want to reach out to them too. There's a person that I want to get on the list at Drywall Master. Why did you choose Drywall Master?
I don't know. I just was looking for a set, and I found a set at a store downstate, and
Okay.
that was the simplest. Again, that was before internet. That was before online shopping,
Yeah.
and so I had to. Wasn't very many options for finding tools around here.
Right. You were just like, whatever. These are fine.
So yeah,
Did you buy a whole set?
I did. I bought the pump, the bazooka, the roller glazer, a
Okay.
couple boxes, the handle, the angle box,
Angle box, yeah.
the 3-inch head.
They didn't
Yeah, I
have
bought.
any of the fancy like Can-Am stuff, the
No,
semi-automatic
there was
tools, none of
no
the
tubes.
like corner. Were you putting corner on? Were you doing metal corner bead or tape on?
I did metal for a long time. Yeah,
Yeah, with
I like to
nails.
trim to. Yeah, and watch them
Did
pop
you have a
out.
crimper? Did you have a crimper?
I have one, but I never used it. Only just, like sometimes you'd have something
Nice.
around a fireplace where you couldn't nail through it or something. But even then, you just put mesh tape along to help lock it in. But
Right. That's funny. Yeah, I remember there was a dude. Yeah, they would just do the corner bead in the Union, and they had a crimper. Bang, bang, bang. They crimp it on there.
that doesn't last.
No,
But
no.
every one of them
Don't
popped.
don't let Joe Koenig. Hey, Joe, if you're listening to this episode of the podcast, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I have done a little bit of metal. But if I buy it, it's generally Trimtex or
Right.
some type of tape on corner bead. I like the tape on.
I like Trimtex now. It's all I use is Trimtex.
Yeah. Yeah. Hear that, Joe? That's all he uses, Trimtex.
Right.
Do you use tape on Trimtex?
I like the mud set
The mud
Trimtex. It's
set.
got a
Yeah.
real fine corner to it. Real low
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't waste as much mud
Right.
filling that bead.
So that's what I like. Although this house I'm doing right now, they have a lot of bull nose in there. So
Okay.
that's a lot of spray glue and staple.
Yeah, that works good. I like that method too with the staples and the spray glue.
Right. I don't know
That
if they
works
have a
pretty good.
mud set for bull nose, but that's
Yeah.
all.
Do you have like the mud applicator, the outside corner applicator?
I have one. I forget who makes it, but I put it on my angle box because I don't have a
O-
tube.
Okay.
So I run the angle box up and down corner. That works good for up and down, but not so good for going across.
Okay. You still use an angle box for going across?
Yeah, but I have to fill in a little bit here and there, but
Okay.
it works okay.
You walk stilts, don't you?
I did. I haven't in some time.
You
Uh,
haven't. It's just too dangerous.
it's a little scary. I stopped wearing my 2 foot stilts.
Okay.
Stuck to my 18 inchers for a long time, but a
Yeah.
few years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's,
Okay.
and so I've been getting a little bit more and more unsteady all the time.
I'm sorry to hear that. How and that's affecting your drywall, maybe ability, but you're conscious of this affliction, and you're sort of compensating for that as maybe you feel different aspects of this disease taking hold.
Yeah, it's affected my mobility
Okay.
mostly. Excuse me, and my voice.
Yeah.
But I'm a lot more stiffer on my right side. Got a
Okay.
slight tremor in my right hand, which is hard because you're trying to pick a three-way, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like get a California swirl to it. But
You might have to go and try uh, the
oh,
three
that
ways. Have
taping?
you? Yeah, have you tried those?
No, I haven't. I haven't had that opportunity yet. It
I
looks kind
think
of thick.
Royce is like, I know they do, but they splice the corners a little bit. Royce is
Really?
about your age, maybe a little older. I've met the person that came out with those. Phenomenal taper. Like he's no slouch, man. It's not like a gimmick, but you might try those out. Get a package of
Right.
them.
I'll have to try them out. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
for
mind
sure.
trying.
I
Maybe you
would,
can
let
send
me
me
see.
one.
Yeah, three-way. I will reach out to Scott and be like, hey, dude, Scott with Russell Drywall, I'll send him a package of three ways. Yeah, because now all you do, you finish your tapes up to the corner, leave them, and then you go around and just put in your whole three-way. It's easy,
Oh yeah.
you don't even mud into the corner. The paper is just, you know, like you don't have to, you just have to mud the edge, like sort of like
Hmm.
tape. It's full of mud, but it's a perfect corner. You're not messing with it at all. You're
Like a
taping it
no
in.
coat or
Yeah, 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 kind of like that. But there's mud in there, but
hmm.
yeah, yeah. So in your instance, you get a package of three ways and you run all your butts and bands and angles and stuff, and then you just go through and do all your three ways in one shot after all that's done. Plus, you don't have to mess with how long your tail is when you get to that corner. You can
Leave it short.
leave it short, all of them. Yeah, it doesn't matter because your three way is going to cover that. Something to consider.
I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you're having a little bit of tremor with but that tremor is probably a bitch with you're running a corner bead too and all that. Cleaning up your windows and stuff.
Right. It's running bead and
Yeah.
skin coating butts and
Yep.
I've become more left-handed, just um, out of need to, you know. But lately, it's been, I don't know, really progressing very fast. I have edema in my legs as
Okay.
well, so it's kind of hard to move around.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So I've really been slowing down, especially the last couple of months. I might
Yeah.
have to retire here pretty soon. I don't know, but
Do you have like a plan for that?
well, we're starting to look into disability,
Okay.
and which we hear is a long, drawn-out process. We'll see what happens with that, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know if it's as obvious of a thing that where they would accept it right away or what, but
And there is a girl that I've seen in your videos.
it's one of my daughters.
That's one of your daughters. How many kiddos?
3.
Oh my gosh. All girls?
No, the youngest is a boy.
Okay. Yeah, at least you got one boy in there, buddy.
He's not much interested in drywall though, so it kind of progresses.
It's all right. Maybe he'll pick something that's well, is he going to school or anything? How old is he?
Well, he's 19, but he's working right now
Okay.
at a local resort. He's working on their adventure park area.
Beautiful. Good for
He
him.
likes rock climbing and zip lines and
Nice.
that sort of thing.
Nice. Nice. And he's sort of moving in that direction. That's excellent.
Yeah, that's the thing he likes the most.
But not for you. You're like, if you don't want to do it, I'm going to grab one of the girls.
Yeah, Paige is my middle daughter. She's picked right up on it. She's out at the job right now, setting bullnose bead and coating them and running angles.
You're in here dilly-dallying with a podcast, and Paige is out there busting ass.
That's right.
Shout out to Paige. She'll probably be working when she hears this. Do you guys listen to the podcast on the job at all?
She doesn't. I do myself, but she likes her music.
She likes music. What does Paige listen to when she's on the job?
Some country, some pop,
Okay.
like older pop for me sometimes. But
Nice.
we put the Bluetooth speaker out, but
Yeah.
she has her
Like
music when it's just her headphones.
like 80s pop sometimes.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I suppose it's classic rock now, but
Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper. Who else? Duran Duran.
yeah, that's really old there.
Sorry.
Def,
Didn't mean to
Def
go back
Leppard.
that. Didn't mean to go back that far. Well, Def Leppard's 80s. Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oasis and some of those groups.
Okay. Yeah. Ben
Flash
would like
Gordon.
Oasis. He's we sell in England, and he's yeah, because right, Oasis is from England, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they all like Oasis over there. Very cool. So you come back to Michigan.
Yeah.
You start Russell's Drywall. You get yourself a set of tools, and then that was it. You're sort of been going gangbusters ever since that time. Have you segued away from Drywall Masters, or like Drywall Master all the time?
I used I used those tools for a long time. I just about a few
I
years
bet.
ago I bought a new Tape Tech bazooka, but
Okay, all right. Well, Tape Tech's coming back into focus. What do you think of that? I've heard good things about Tape Tech.
it's a good bazooka. It needs a tune up now, but because fallen over a couple times,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's a good bazooka.
Do you send it back in to get a tune-up for it? How does that work?
I'm not sure exactly. I was just starting to look into that. What if send
Okay.
it back to the factory or somebody around here can do it, or I know like there's
We'll have to
Al's up in
find out.
Minnesota that can do that, but
I'll give Mark a call. Did you hear the Mark Wilson episode?
yeah, I like that. It's funny
Yeah,
thing about him.
we'll send Mark. Mark, if you're listening, Russell needs some help with this bazooka. Take a repair kit up there and help him out.
I met him a year ago at the Build 24, and it turns
Okay.
out he's got some connections up here in Bear Lake. So
It's such
he
a
knew
nice Such a nice guy, right?
Right. And I heard him and who was the other guy from Flushing, Michigan, they do the hand thing, you know?
Oh, yes. The hand thing. Was that? I
About a
can't
month
think now.
ago.
You put me
Yeah,
on the spot. Yeah, we were
I
talking
know.
about the hand. They're like, we're
Right.
located here.
So Lower Michigan's like a hand, and
Okay.
I'm over here under the pinky more.
You're under the pinky. Okay.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you're running these tools now. Are you guys primarily tape and texture up there?
Mostly smooth finish ceilings. Nobody likes texture up here.
Okay.
Um, every once in a while, I'll stomp a ceiling or something, or do a
Okay.
knockdown.
Yeah.
But mostly it's all smooth finish.
We'll switch to the daughters. How long has Paige been working with you? And she likes it? She likes doing drywall?
Yeah, she likes it, and she's
Yeah.
done a lot of travel too herself. She just was in Tampa for
Awesome.
about 6 weeks,
Okay. She was in
helping out.
Tampa doing volunteer work
Right,
with these Kingdom Halls or like office buildings or whatever. She's doing volunteer work for the organization.
right. Well, more of it was more personal homes that had been
Okay.
damaged in hurricanes, but
Okay. Neat.
they have a program down there where they help them out.
Okay. Who else do we have on the crew?
Just others from around the country go down there to help out.
No, no, on your crew.
Oh, my crew, no, just me and Paige.
Just you and Paige. That's so cool.
I
But
was,
the other daughter was like, "You're nuts. I will never do that."
yeah, she's helped out a little bit. She just actually went and quoted some screws somewhere for me, but
Okay.
she lives downstate anyway, so she did that while she was up here on vacation.
Okay. What age are we talking? So the boy is 19, and then what other ages are we do we have?
21 and 26.
Excellent. Congratulations. That's a good spread.
It's worked out.
Yeah, yeah. I'll bet. Seems like a pretty good crew. You and Paige. Paige is helping out. She works with you day in, day out, huh?
A few 3 4 days a week, and
Yeah.
she takes time off for other things, but yeah, she helps out quite a bit.
And how is she with the social media and all that stuff? Does she post up a lot of drywall stuff on social media or no?
No, I was kind of surprised. She doesn't like Instagram.
Okay.
She I think she does Facebook a little bit, but she doesn't post much herself. She'll share texts with friends and stuff, but she's not a big
Okay.
social media person.
Okay. Okay. And you're out there a little bit. So you how long have you been doing the social media thing? Are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook now. I thought I'd try to drum up a little bit more business on Marketplace, and
Okay.
um, so that's not really panned out into anything yet. But
Sure.
it's been another avenue for clientele.
And if you're
Good.
curious, you can go follow Scott at Russell's underscore drywall on that's your Instagram handle. You've got some posts on there, you got some followers and stuff, so that's cool.
A few, yeah. There's 400 or so, I guess.
There you go. Post up
I
a
had
couple
a
things.
I had a personal one, and then I started getting seeing posts about giveaways, but they wanted them to be open. So I was like, well, I don't want my personal one to be open. So I opened up a business one
Okay.
to win stuff. Was how I started, and then I just started posting more
Okay.
business stuff.
Cool, cool. Well, I mean, I've been following you for a little while whenever something pops up on your drywall page, we followed each other for a little
Right.
while. I appreciate you listening to the Drywall podcast.
Yeah, I'm always looking for different ideas on things, and I've changed a
Sure.
few things along the way, but it's good to get the feedback. I like the drywall community that
Yeah.
we have here. It's
Yeah,
pretty
it's
fun
neat.
community.
It is pretty fun. A lot of good people, a lot of good people, even like, the Mark Wilsons and the Columbia Tools and the folks from trim techs. I mean, all over. It's just been a really, really awesome experience. It's been going
Hmm.
for quite a while now. 3 years, crossed over 3 years. So
Yeah, it's been fun. You see how other people do things, and it's like, maybe I've suggested some things to some people. I don't know how it comes across, but I've learned some things from others too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and don't be afraid to message somebody on social media. A lot of times, people want to. They're not. We're more closed until somebody reaches out, and then it kind of like gives us permission to open up a little bit. So it's kind of scary, talking to somebody new you and I hadn't met.
right,
And then, now that we've talked a little bit, it's just great. It's really a cool aspect of what I get to do, with the podcast.
right. That was fun last year when I went to Orlando to Build 24. I got to meet a lot of
Yeah.
people, a lot of Instagram people, a lot of the Columbia people. They had
Uh-huh.
Sean was there and Cam was there.
You
Got to
met
meet
you
them.
you met the great Cameron Brown, yeah.
I did. It was fun.
Great guy, great guy, huh?
Yeah, he had such a positive energy to him. It was so
Oh
fun to
yeah.
be around him. And Danny was there, and
Yep.
Aaron, and I met Kayla there, and
Yeah. Sweetheart.
um, there was others there. The Drywall Chicks and Brian from Drywall Nation. There was a bunch there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some other people that I follow were there that I got to meet.
Yeah, I did not. I was not at that one. We had
I know.
this project. We had this project in Siri, and scheduling, and
Oh
it would
yeah,
it got too close to from that project to the Siri project was like 2 weeks. It was really
opposite
tough.
ends of the country.
Yeah, and I mean, it costs money to do this stuff, and I just wasn't able to. But those guys had a really good time. Yeah, I think they did it this year. This year's show was really good. I was hanging out at the Mud Skip booth. We were having a lot of fun. Met the dudes from Comey. Met some people from Tape Tech and Ames. Who else this year? Yeah, I met the Mud Skip people for the first time. Have
Yeah.
you tried out the Mud Skip yet?
No, I haven't. I've been wanting to try that out. I just haven't gotten around to ordering some and getting that set up.
Mud Skip. All right. I'll talk with Paul too and Scott with the three-way and get you hooked up. But you'll get a swag bucket from CSR anyways. Those don't go out. They go out more periodically, like every couple of months. I'll
Hmm.
gather up everybody's information that's been on the podcast. You'll get like a swag bucket from those guys. It's a pretty cool thing that they do. They are gearing up for customer appreciation in Barrie. If you haven't heard of that, head over to their Instagram page and you can meet lots of cool people and vendors that will be at that event. That's the next one coming up.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's about 7 hours from here. I don't know if I'll be able to make it or not, but
You should go up. You should just do it. You
that'd be
should.
fun just to go.
Yeah, get Kim, throw her in the car, go up to Canada. Barrie is beautiful, it's a cool little town. And that shop, that CSR shop is extraordinary. Like they have everything. It's
Uh,
very cool. Yeah, yeah, they have all the Trim Tech specialty beads. They've got like, Naila and, all the obscure little tools that you wouldn't think that
oh yeah,
anybody carries. They have everything. Yeah, it's really cool.
give me some PRC tools too. Huh?
You get a PRC shirt, yeah, or and Phil might even be there. Who knows? He shows up at those things sometimes. Very nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah, the last Black Friday one they had, they looked pretty fun.
Yes. But Scott Russell's drywall. What did we miss? Where are you headed with your drywall company? Is there anything that is there a direction you're going? I mean, with this retirement, is Paige going to take over? You haven't really put too much thought into that.
Yeah, we're in the early stages of that, trying to figure out what to do and whether she
Okay.
wants to pick it up from here or do something else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she likes drywall and where it can take her, and she likes doing all the different things, and she's learning the tools, and,
Yeah.
and she's having fun with that.
Good.
But
Maybe it's just where like you focus on like training maybe new people,
right,
like so that she can have like a helper, that comes in and just is like, helping her out. And you like segue out and you have like people that you're like the lead trainer.
right. Yeah, I could guide her through, setting up jobs and bidding them and
Yeah,
all that. But,
it's
so,
tricky.
so we'll see what happens with that. It's kind of demanding, because drywall takes a fair amount of time to do, and everybody's waiting on the drywaller to get done to
Hmm.
move on. But
Yeah.
show them the ropes.
Show them the ropes. Yeah. Pearl of wisdom, Scott. What do you got for us?
Well, in anything in the trades, you got to know what the guy behind you needs to have done in order to be good at what you do. If your corners are all messed up, the trim guy can't set his base right. If your edges on your joints are showing, that really shows up in the paint and everything. When the guy behind you doesn't have to worry about how the drywaller did, then you've done a good job.
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Being mindful of the other trades when you're on the job, everybody takes care of each other like
And
that.
caring about what they have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, care. Just care in general, about what you're doing, about what the other trades are doing. We're all working together to create this beautiful home or office space or whatever you're working on, bring an air of enjoyment and love to the project. Like bring it, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
take yourself too seriously. Just enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And you're in an elitist uh group because you got to meet Cam. I just went up and worked with Rob Mack, and he great guy. But he's like, I never got to meet. He's always wanting to go on these
Right.
adventures, and he never got out, and never got to meet him. And it's you know that was a good event for you because you got to meet Cam and you got to meet a bunch of drywall people and some people you've
Yeah.
seen on social media. It's really cool.
Right. And it was great. Kayla has helped me out on a few things from the past. And so it was great meeting her to thank her for it and
Yeah.
meeting some other people that I follow was putting, character to the faces that you see on Instagram.
Yeah. I should have Kayla back on. Kayla Beckett, the taping queen, just a sweetheart, very knowledgeable Canadian, and a really good finisher.
Yeah, she's real busy. It'd be hard to catch her.
Yeah,
I just saw where she's heading over to Europe pretty soon, but
yeah, yeah. Very cool. Scott Russell's Drywall, 57 years young out of Bear Lake, Michigan. Thank you for being on the Drywall podcast today, sir.
thank you.
It
It's
was
been fun.
yeah, it was great. It was great. And we will keep in touch with you if you want to follow Scott at Russell's _ drywall on Instagram. Go give Scott a follow. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for coming on today, man.
Sure.
It was very
Thank you.
nice. It was nice to meet you finally. And we will be in touch. And now I can put a face to the name and all that good stuff.
Same here. It was nice meeting you and hope you have a good day.
All right. Talk to you soon, Scott.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Huge shout out to Scott Russell for being with us on the Drywall podcast today. I really appreciate you opening up about your story, your battle with Parkinson's right now, and that transition. It's got to be a tough one, but we will keep in touch with you in the near future. Do you want to become famous? You can. Just by coming on to the Drywall podcast, you will automatically be super rich and famous. No, but seriously, you won't be rich and famous, but you will be able to tell your story. If you're curious about doing that, reach out to me directly at info@frescoharmony.com. I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear your story as well. Shout out to Tape Tech, our super pro sponsor for the month of May on the Drywall podcast. This month, they're unleashing the T-Rax. This system mounts onto the Flex FS1108 roller drawer and FS1106 stack pack boxes, part of the Flex Stack Pack system, one of the toughest, most durable rolling toolbox systems on the market. This creates a rock-solid setup that makes the T-Rax, that's T-RAXX, do what it was designed to do, and that keeps your tools secure, organized, and ready to roll. It works with all of your tools, no matter what brand you're using. Tape Tech, Level 5, Drywall Master. It's compatible and it's very cool. Go check out the T-Rax system at Ames, Allwall, and West Tech. The rack system retails for $149.99. Go get one today. You have a lot of choices when you head over to the radio of content to listen to. I am super grateful that today you chose the Drywall Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us every Friday for badass new content. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. I'm not just saying that, I really do. And remember, keep drywalling.